Hello and welcome to Peggy's Plants, coming to you from Central Florida. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a plant sale in Valrico, Florida, that's in the Tampa area, and I happened to meet an Instagram seller that goes by the name of My Crazy Plant Life, and she sells rare and hard to find houseplants. So I recorded a little clip so she could introduce herself to you.
Hi, I'm Shamika from My Crazy Plant Life. I'm located down here in Tampa, Florida. I sell a lot of harder to find houseplants, and you can find me on Instagram under My Crazy Plant Life.
Now that we've shared some plant love, let's get on with the video. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a picture of my Peperomia Polybotrya on my Instagram account, and I immediately started getting requests to do a care video. Now, full transparency, I am no expert when it comes to this plant. The first one I had, I killed within 2 weeks. So I'm not one to go back and revisit a plant that I killed that quickly. However, last summer when my mother was visiting, we were in the Walmart garden center and she saw this plant and she got sucked in by it, but she bought it for me. And I told her, Mom, no, this plant is nothing but trouble. And she insisted that I have this plant and that this time things would be different. Well, like they say, mother always knows best. And in this case, she did. This is my Peperomia Polybotrya today. And as you can see, it's not just growing, it is thriving. And it's actually quite easy to care for. So today I'm going to share with you how I care for my Peperomia Polybotrya. If I had to pick the main issue that people have when growing the Peperomia Polybotrya, I would say that it's lighting. This is where I grow my Peperomia Polybotrya. It's in an east-facing window where it gets bright indirect light for the most part of the day. It does not get any direct lighting. When these plants don't get enough light, they decline quickly. They start dropping leaves and stretching. This is one that my friend is growing. She is a novice to houseplants and she's doing a great job. But this plant actually had fewer leaves than this. And I told her that she needed to put the plant somewhere where it would get more lighting. As soon as she did that, she started getting a lot more leaves on this plant. And I have no doubt that this plant won't be full of leaves shortly. It's not unusual even to see them being sold in the store looking a little sparse. As you can see here, this is one of several that I found in a big box store up for sale. And clearly, in my opinion, it is losing leaves because it's not getting enough light. So if you have a Polybotrya and it looks otherwise healthy, but it's losing leaves and it's stretching out, I would say put it somewhere where it's going to get more light. The next thing to take into consideration when growing your Polybotrya would be watering. This plant does have a tail when it needs to be watered, as you can see here by the leaves at the bottom drooping considerably. And if you take a look at the soil, you can see just how dry the soil is on this plant. Yes, I let this plant dry out considerably before watering it. Now, even though the leaves are limp and the soil appears dry, I still take that extra measure and I will take my water meter and check just to make sure. And as you can see, this plant is bone dry. It is all the way to the left on this one. So it's a little drier than I normally let it get, but I usually let it get into the red and show dryness. You can also see that the leaves are very flexible. They're not firm at all. That's another tell that this plant gives you that it needs to be watered. To water my plants, I use water that has either set out for 24 hours so that the chemicals, chlorine and things like that can evaporate, or I run it through my zero water filter, or you can use distilled water. Some plants aren't very picky about the water that they get. but some are, and the Polybotrya definitely is one of those plants. I also use fertilizer every time I water. I use just the simple Miracle Grow granules at a quarter strength, and I just add it to the water and then water my plant with it. So my plants, when they're in growing season, I should say, I do use fertilizer in all of my water. Now, if you don't use water that is distilled or that has been set out for 24 hours for the chemicals to be removed, there's a good chance that you're going to see little bumps on the leaves of your plant. And some people call it acne. And this is a reaction that this particular plant has to water impurities. How you water your plant is a matter of personal preference. As you can see here, I choose to bottom water just about all of my plants. And I like this because I can be sure that the plant is being thoroughly watered. I simply set it in a bin that has a couple of inches of water in it, and I sit it there sometimes overnight. I set the plant in the water until I can see that the soil on the top is wet. At that point, I know that this plant has been thoroughly watered. And while the plant is being bottom watered, I take this opportunity to spray it down with some neem oil and water with a little bit of dish liquid in it, just in case there are any pests on there that shouldn't be. But I also do this to clean off my leaves. Once the soil at the top of the plant has started to show moisture, I remove the plant from the bin, allow it to drain so that that it is not sitting in any water, and then I put it back in its place by the window. These plants do not like to be moved from place to place, so if you find a place that works for your Polybotrya, make sure you return that plant to that place. The humidity where this plant is growing is at 51%, and the temperature stays around 70 degrees, which is just the normal temperature where I keep my house. So that's it. And this is the inflorescence from a Polybotrya. So if your plant is showing you this, then it's a happy camper. And it's just that easy to take care of your Polybotrya. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your Peperomia Polybotrya, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.